the Stellar chain allowed us to do some of those things. And then also, you guys Stellar's amazing with how cheap your gas fees are. I mean, yeah, there's nobody else that comes near that. And
Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another CYPRX video banger. In today's video, we are going to dial in and focus our attention on Stellar's XLM. With that being said, if you enjoy these video breakdowns, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. Make sure that you stick around for the entirety of this video breakdown. We have some monumental video clips for you all to play today. Let's jump in. So I'm going to read off a list of things that this specific video breakdown collage is going to cover. I have compiled a series of video clips for you all from individuals from Franklin Templeton and other large organizational representatives confirming a couple of things that we have been talking about on the CYPRX platform for some time. The first being that they are for a fact, people, wake up and realize that this is happening, building a new financial infrastructure that is going to run on blockchain and crypto rails.
What's happening at the moment, it's very much this infrastructure that is being built for tokenization across different parts of the value chain.
Yeah, I mean, coming back to the institutional demand side, I think a lot of it from our perspective comes back to what I was talking about from the risk management perspective. I think a lot of companies are focused on a flight to quality. After FTX, after everything they saw, there's a lot more focus on ensuring companies have good controls in place and that, there's appropriate segregation of duties and clear oversight and compliance considerations going into effect with all these companies. And I also, I'm starting to see a lot more experimentation with, what I've always hoped for with the space, which is, blockchain as a technology is just a new infrastructure layer. I think, Matthew, you said it earlier, which is, we're really just going to slowly start to see a movement of maybe more traditional assets onto a blockchain-based architecture. You might call it crypto. We call these assets on top of blockchain crypto today. I prefer the term digital assets, but I think we're starting to see that even with the largest banks and institutions experimenting with putting all forms of different types of traditional assets on private blockchain-based architectures that they will likely eventually start to transition over to the public chain space. And so I'm very excited about the idea of bringing all different types of assets we currently work in today onto a more efficient architecture. Whether we call that crypto or digital assets, I think is not really the point. It's more about where this architecture might take us and what benefits we might derive from it.
So that is going to be confirmed in this video breakdown. Then the other thing that we're going to confirm that we've been talking about on the CYPRX platform is that these financial institutions, these large organizations, they cannot participate fully in this digital asset ecosystem using cryptocurrencies because the regulatory environment is not fully implemented and soundly in place just yet.
Specifically what Franklin Templeton did, they said, we're going to create a unit. That unit's going to report directly to the CEO, akin on par to our traditional bond and equity and macro funds. As well as that, we're going to actually build in the space. So digital infrastructure, that means we've got a team of dedicated engineers that are out there building smart contract code, understanding the cryptography so that we don't fall victim to these end of address attacks that we're seeing, or if we can at least be aware of them to make sure that we can avoid them. Two, making sure we run nodes as a service because that's a critical piece of the infrastructure, not only to support the ecosystem, but to understand what's actually going on chain. And all of this flows back to the investing side. So the venture team, we benefit from the engineers as well as the data, but we also act as a leading edge detector of where these technologies are moving, what the latest advances in the space are, and relay that back to engineers as well as infrastructure. And the token team does the same, right? And so obviously token to a certain degree is a new capital asset, however you want to frame it and value it, but it's something that needs to be respected and understood if you're going to be working with the SEC, if you're going to be trying to lead in the space to have things approved like our money market fund that's on chain and uses no traditional back-end rails.
And so what is the value of DeFi today relative to what people perceived the value of DeFi might have been 3 years ago? Well, the value is that it's actually easier and faster and better to build financial products on a DeFi stack than it is to build it on the old traditional financial stack that was built over the last 50 years. And that's why you're seeing major banks, major PBs start to build things like tokenized money market funds.
To have things approved like our money market fund that's on chain.
Because they see this and they say, oh, the crypto rails are actually better for trading these traditional assets than the current rails that we have. So we're going to move over slowly.
To have things approved like our money market fund that's on chain and uses no traditional back-end rails, you need to understand what it means, and if you're going to allow it to interact freely, which we are currently not allowed to for regulatory reasons right now, but is something that in the let's call medium-term future is an exciting thing that we certainly think is the technology is there. It's a matter of institutions like Franklin Templeton working with regulatory bodies in order to get us there.
From the legal perspective, of course, I guess what we still see in the market is a quite fragmented regulatory framework, and I guess that a robust regulatory framework is key for the market infrastructure in general.
Then we're also going to confirm that they chose the Stellar blockchain, specifically Franklin Templeton, because it is regulatory compliant. That plays a massive role considering the fact that we are in an uncertain regulatory environment, and these large financial institutions like Franklin Templeton are choosing the Stellar blockchain because it complies with regulation. So think about that as we head into the future and we start to see regulations implemented into this space.
I certainly agree with the points you raised, but definitely the efficiency side of things, providing liquidity where previously there wasn't liquidity, and then also discovering new utility where we haven't had it before. And this is where we can be innovative with the technology. And then also discovering new utility where we haven't had it before. And then also discovering new utility where we haven't had it before. And this is where we can be innovative with the technology. In many ways, we have an opportunity with tokenization to re-engineer many of the financial systems and markets that we have. In many ways, we have an opportunity with tokenization to re-engineer many of the financial systems and markets that we have.
Yeah, well, we actually also quite proud that we recently announced that we issued a tokenized bond on a public blockchain. So we used the Stellar protocol for it, and it was a tokenized bond for mid-corp. And the unique thing about this specific deal was that it was the entire process, so preparing, placing and documenting was on chain. So it was a fully digital bond that we issued.
Which we are currently not allowed to for regulatory reasons right now, but
there was a filing that you guys had made that was picked up by, and it was the first mention of using the Stellar blockchain. And I was like, this is exactly the way that you want open technology to work. You guys looked at this, made your decisions about what you were going to do. No one had to force you. No one went out and said, hey, we're going to pay you lots of money to do this. You guys figured it out. We were thrilled to see that, because that's exactly what we want to see happen all over the world. And what we do see happen, not even not at this scale necessarily, but small individual developers in other parts of the world can grab the technology and do it. But once we did, we were like, hey, we should be talking to them. And so we started the conversations, and it's just been so nice to watch the journey and to watch that, you guys did very methodically approach this. Yeah. And so what are the benefits that you see for?
Well, I mean, of course, at the time we were, trying to figure out which platform to use. And, I think we ended up with Stellar because of really the capabilities that you guys have that were so important for the regulatory environment, right? I mean, so this concept of being able to, claw back a transaction, right? Really the capabilities that you guys have that were so important for the regulatory environment, right? I mean, so it's frustrating. There's not clarity. It's always hard to, if you're playing a game and you don't know what the rules are, that can be difficult. But I think we have to, work constructively with the regulators because it's coming, right? Because it's going to be the core to financial services.
Then, two more things that we're going to confirm is that once regulations are clear, money will most likely start to flow back into the digital asset space, especially once regulations are given the green light to fully participate in this new asset class.
In the end, this will be regulated. It's frustrating. There's not clarity. It's always hard to, if you're playing a game and you don't know what the rules are, that can be difficult. But I think we have to, work constructively with the regulators because it's coming, right? Because it's going to be the core to financial services. I think we're just at the early stages. I always say it's a little bit like, when Apple came out with the iPhone, and you were like, oh, it's pretty cool. I got, a camera and I don't know, music and my phone. And what Apple was doing was unlocking the creativity of people.
Yes.
And that's where we are, I think, in this ecosystem.
I think so too.
Bitcoin rally and what we focus on in terms of private markets, they've certainly bottomed out in the last few months, and these stats point to generally you get 29 months worth of recession. We're in month number 30, and so we expect for institutional investors like Franklin Templeton to continue to roll out more funds on chain, which would increase real world assets. We expect other banking participants and asset manager participants to do the same. And at the same time, we expect more money in terms of investment to flow back in as asset prices rally and kind of the freeze of the crypto world thaws.
And then the last thing that we're going to confirm, which is my most favorite, is that these large financial institutions, if they do not adopt this new technology, they will fall behind, they will die. And that is so extremely important because, in my personal opinion, once we see one large financial institution, which we have seen, right? Obviously, of course, they're not completely utilizing digital assets yet, but in the near future, I have a firm belief that once one financial institution gets the regulatory green light and they start utilizing these digital assets, they are all going to start to flood in. They know that these digital assets are the secret sauce to scale these blockchain protocols effectively and efficiently. They just can't use the native cryptocurrency quite yet because of unclear regulatory implications.
So I think of the banks they're going to have their Kodak moment, right? Where they got to decide whether they're going to reinvent themselves or they're going to die. And I don't know when that happens, but at some point, I think that that's going to play out.
The thing you also have to realize is this: the ball's in your court. You need to either embrace it or left behind.
We think it's going to completely change worldwide supply chains. If you're not operating at the edge of innovation or technology, you need to be prepared to be commoditized or potentially to become extinct.
Alrighty, so I hope that you all enjoyed that banger. I sure as heck enjoyed putting it together for you all. I hope that this information goes a long way and gives you that long-term perspective that these financial institutions have via what it is that they're building to upgrade and enhance their back-end infrastructure in migrating the old system over to the new, updated blockchain and crypto rails. With that being said, many blessings to you all. As always, be cognizant, be aware out there. Do us a big favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to the platform. If you really enjoyed this video, share this on your social media platforms. Tell your friends about CYPRX so that they can come, get informed, get good amounts of information so that you all can make executive decisions on the way that you want to move and invest in this space. Again, it's not financial advice. Now that you all have the information, you can take it a step further to make an executive decision whether you want to invest or start to look into the Stellar blockchain and the digital asset XLM. As always, be cognizant, be aware, and I'll see you all on the next video breakdown.